What's up, guys? I'm Hustle.
And I'm Mo, and welcome to the Mo Hustle Show.
What up, y'all? We so glad that y'all stopped by to kick it with us.
We talking about everything from politics to pool pits to stripper poles. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it.
Period.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mo Hustle Show. I'm Mo.
Welcome. I'm Hustle.
So today our topic is going to be super interesting to some of you. No, seriously. Today we're going to talk about all the madness surrounding the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan and the war that has taken 20 plus years that we are finally walking away from.
Ooh,
all right.
20 years?
Yeah.
And listen, y'all, we're not here to bore y'all today. I know politics is not everybody's favorite. All right. Especially because of the last administration. Like, y'all probably signed off all of y'all's political apps, information sources, all of that just to get away from it. And I'm not going to lie, I had to take a step back myself.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to stay up to date with what's going on in politics. But you definitely have to take a step back. What you think?
Yeah, I did. And, I'm normally watching that stuff every day.
Right.
But, after this last administration, I definitely had to take a step away before I drove myself crazy. But with that being said, so today, what we're going to do for you guys, first of all, we're going to simplify a timeline as much as we can for what's going on for the past 20 years with the war. Some of you political junkies out there might not need this information. Everybody doesn't keep up with the day-to-day leaks and different things that go on every day. The average person might know the basics, but we're going to dig a little bit deeper today and give you guys some insight on, number one, what happened during the inception of our involvement in Afghanistan? Like, how did we end up in Afghanistan in the first place? And why are we still there 20 years later? Well, not anymore, but why are we still there 20 years later? Number two, we're going to discuss some of the key events that took place to help shape some of the political landscape of what's happening right now and what's led up to all of this. Number three, last but not least, we're going to talk about why some people support Joe Biden's decision to go ahead and withdraw our troops and why some people, just don't support it and feel like we could have stayed. What do you guys think? Do you think that there was anything more that we could have done in Afghanistan? Do you guys think that it was time for us to go? It's just something that everybody's talking about now, and it's a big debate.
Yeah.
So, Hustle, what do you think?
I think that it's time. I don't know if there is a good way to leave a failed mission in Afghanistan. Because if you ask me, it's a failed mission. I think that, it may sound a little insensitive to some, but 20 years and $1 trillion spent on equipping and training these Afghan security forces and defense forces.
Right.
And let's not forget the 2,448 Americans killed during the process. We've known for a very long time, that the Afghan security defense forces were not viable. All right, because they're crippled by their government, because their government is corrupt. So they pretty much have no support from up top. So it's like whatever goes on, it just goes on. Everybody's afraid of these guys. So, of course, they're not going to step in and lend much help. So it's not really much that we can do in that situation. So I think that it was time. I think maybe he could have done it a little more strategically.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And my heart goes out to those families that lost soldiers during this most recent attack. But I think even if we pulled out little by little, that would have left the people that were left back there on the ground still vulnerable to attack.
Right.
Because, the Taliban forces, they're always looking and searching for holes or just anything in your little security that will let them get an edge up on you. So
they're like termites.
Yeah.
They are really like termites.
Yeah, So,
yeah, I definitely agree. I think that it was time. I don't think that there was anything more than we could have done. Too many fallen soldiers.
Right.
And
it's time
really,
to go.
at the end of the day, unfortunately, it's like, for what?
Yeah.
For what? So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and take a trip down memory lane. Like I said, we are not here to bore you guys today, but we just want everybody to have a better understanding of how we ended up where we are now in terms of us having to pull out of Afghanistan the way that we did. Okay, so let's go back to 1973, July 3rd. I know some of you all weren't born. I wasn't even born.
Me neither.
We were under President Jimmy Carter, okay? I don't know if you guys are familiar with Operation Cyclone. Operation Cyclone was basically when the United States funneled weapons to Pakistani President Muhammad, I always mess his name up, Zia-ul-Haq as a proxy for the United States against the Soviet Union's presence in Afghanistan. Okay. On Christmas Day, 1979, USSR Russia invades Afghanistan as a part of an alleged intervention in support of the Afghan communist government. Okay. So the Soviet Union remained in Afghanistan for the next 10 years until 1989. All right. So now let's back up to 1983. We're under Ronald Reagan administration, Republican. February 1983, Ronald Reagan meets with the Afghan freedom fighters at the White House. If you take a look, there's a picture of Ronald Reagan meeting with the Afghan freedom fighters at the White House. Okay, so basically, they had a sit down with the president and the Afghan freedom fighters, and they're like, "Look, we need some help. You know, they're killing us over here. Like, we need some help from you guys. You know, America is looked at as a superpower. You know, we have allies with several different countries and things like that. So a lot of people look to us for that support, and that's the situation here. So for about 3 years, the Soviet Union were at war with U.S., and basically nobody won. It was basically a stalemate. So after nobody won the war, it was just basically wasted time and money, similar to,
as always,
what we're going through now. Fast forward to 1986, the U.S. supplies Afghanistan with, it was an anti-aircraft, they're called Stinger missiles, and they basically sit on the shoulders of the soldiers, and they were used to shoot down the aircraft of the Soviet Union and try to give them, you know, a little lead so they could try to, you know, win the war on the U.S.'s behalf. And it worked. So there were several choppers that were shot down. So essentially, we won that little war. So fast forward, February 15, 1989, the Soviet Union finally leaves Afghanistan. So after 10 years in the Soviet Union, there was a negotiation, and they finally agreed to leave Afghanistan. So as you all know, in 1992, the Soviet Union officially collapses. So there is no more Soviet Union. All right, making way for now I cannot pronounce this, but it's basically the freedom fighters, the Mujahideen. Is that right? Mujahideen.
I think that's
Mujahideen.
It sounds good to me.
Okay, I'm going to get the Mujahideen. Okay, to take over. Okay, so for the next 4 years, from 1992 to 1996, you have different, we're going to call them Mujahideen groups just for the sake of, I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay, they fought amongst each other in Afghanistan. It was a mess. It was a chaos. It was nothing came of it. These small wars didn't do anything but kill thousands of civilians, and the Taliban ended up taking over. So now the Soviet Union is completely out of Afghanistan, and now the Taliban has taken over. Okay, just real quick, the Taliban was founded by Mullah Omar, okay? And the primary goal of the Taliban is basically to carry out the law of Sharia. And when you talk about the law of Sharia, you talk about strict punishments like public executions and things like that. If you were found guilty of murder, if you steal, you get your hand chopped off, things like that. So that's what they were basically there. They were, there to enforce that strict law. Right. So, there was an issue with that. So fast forward to May 1996, Osama bin Laden. Okay, we're getting closer and closer to, what happens on September 2001, 9/11. All right, so Osama bin Laden arrives in Afghanistan after he was expelled from Sudan. So he's trying to rub shoulders with Taliban leaders, and he essentially, gains his way in and ends up, becoming a leader himself. So in September 1996, the Taliban take control over Kabul, which is the capital city in Afghanistan. All right, so now we got President Najibullah. He was hanged after the insurgents just one day after Kabul was taken over with. So now he's gone. And prior to his death, he had to seek refuge for about 4 years.
Wow.
Anyway, so it was, it's been a mess.
Listen, they ruthless over there. They are ruthless. Right.
So from 1997 to 1998, you got the Taliban imposing their rule. They're forbidding women to work. They're banning little girls from, getting an education. They're carrying out these punishments, like we talked about before. they carried out all these punishments under the Sharia law. So it was just, some extreme punishments over there these people were going through. So they were cutting up over there. So fast forward to August 20, 1998, President Clinton launches an airstrike after the U.S. embassies in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam were attacked on August the 7th. So now those, after they struck the embassies, basically what war, President Clinton said, we not having that shit.
Right.
So you go. Now, 1999, the United Nations Security Council imposes terrorist sanctions on the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. All right, so in December, I don't know if you guys remember when the Indian airline was hijacked going to Qatar. The Taliban were the mediators between the hijackers and the Indian authorities. So what they did, they ended up, they let a few, 3 terrorists? I think they let 3 terrorists go and hand them over in exchange for the passenger security. All right, so now we're in March 2001. We're getting closer and closer. The Taliban destroys a 1,500-year-old Buddha statue, and this causes a major uproar. All right, so what it did, it basically highlighted a struggle between the regime and the persecuted minorities, like the Shahid Muslims residing in Bamiyan. Okay, so now here's where things get interesting, and the time frame to where people can relate to what's going on back to 9/11. All right. And tomorrow is actually the anniversary of 9/11, so that's why we just thought it was a good time for us to do this segment right around
perfect timing.
The anniversary. And now that we mentioned it, what were you guys doing during the 9/11 attacks? I feel really bad because I was in school at UNCW, and I had just come from class. I was in Wilmington. I just come from class, and in between my classes, I would always watch The Young and the Restless. So I get back to the dorms, and I can't watch The Young and the Restless. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, why can't I watch? Like, why is it being interrupted? Not knowing at the time what was going on, but yeah, that's what was going on in my life at the time. So what were you doing? Where were you at?
Man, I think that's one of those things you never forget.
Right.
I was in Germany. That was my first duty station in the military. I was in Germany, Vilseck, Germany to be exact. And we were like all kind of just in the motor pool, like gathered up in this small room looking at the TV, like looking at the Twin Towers and looking at each other. And I remember thinking I don't know what they were thinking, but I was thinking to myself, now I know what I signed up for, but I didn't think I'd ever have to do it.
Right.
So it got real at that point. It got real at that point. So let's talk about September 11th attacks in New York and Washington, D.C. First of all, man, the anniversary is coming up. Prayers out to the people that were affected, that lost loved ones. The U.S. demanded for Taliban to hand over bin Laden, but of course they refused. Right. All right, so let's fast forward to October 7th, 2001. U.S. leads invasion and launches Operation Enduring Freedom, targeting Al-Qaeda and the Taliban military strikes. From November to December of 2001, the U.S. entered Kabul. The regime was overthrown December 7th. Taliban regime was officially overthrown. So in 2003, let's fast forward to 2003, the Defense Secretary, Donald Rumsfeld, requests to end the major combat activity in Afghanistan. Rumsfeld, at the time, he felt like we were closer to a period of stabilization and to a period of reconstruction. After that, President Bush prematurely claims the end of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Bush was highly criticized. He was highly criticized for claiming victory when the war and the fighting persisted for 7 years after. So fast forward to 2006. All right, the Taliban reemerges and they begin to reclaim territories in Afghanistan. Kind of like,
I tell you, they don't go away.
Listen, they see everything, and it's kind of like what's going on now. Like,
they see the holes and they jump right in them.
They're trying to get back in there. Right. So fast forward to October of 2011, which is the 10-year anniversary of the War on Terror. So basically, U.S. NATO formally ends the combat mission in Afghanistan and focuses on providing more supportive and a training role. So President Obama gave the green light for military operations against Taliban and Al-Qaeda targets. 2013, the Afghan army takes on security operations from NATO forces, and Obama administration announces plans to begin peace talks with the Taliban. What do you think about peace talks?
I just would have been a talk of lies and deception. And we're gonna calm it down. And then as soon as
As soon as you let your guard down, boom,
right,
we back.
Sharia is back.
Yeah. So July 29, 2015, Mullah Omar was confirmed dead. He had been dead for over 2 years, though.
Right. They tried to conceal his death.
So essentially, Taliban attacks against the U.S. and Afghan forces increased to almost daily. At that point, things were happening daily. People were getting hurt daily, losing their lives. Tensions continued to rise, and President Obama was forced to reconsider plans to withdraw troops from Afghanistan by the time his presidency was over. 2018, attacks continued. All right, as President Trump entered the office,
he was playing spades. He said
he did what he usually does. All right. So basically, the Trump administration felt that the U.S. could not afford a quick withdrawal from Afghanistan. So for that reason, they stayed there. And like right now, the quick withdrawal, that's why a lot of people are not happy with it.
But you know, what's crazy is a lot of people don't realize that President Obama was supposed to bring the troop homes. Mm-hmm. President Trump was, in agreement to bring the troop homes. They had pretty much the same stance on that. So I guess that's for a later topic. But a lot of people are bashing, a lot of people are bashing the president for withdrawing the way he did, but that was the plan all along. That's what Trump was going to do anyway.
Yeah, he just didn't get to carry it out, and so Biden, he's carrying it out. Which shout out to him. I honestly think it's a good thing that he's doing.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, somebody was going to have to do it. He's just.
They can't stay over there forever. So President Donald Trump, he finally appointed U.S. ambassador to Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad. Am I saying that right? Khalilzad. There we go. As his special representative to negotiate with the Taliban.
I don't want to interrupt you, but anytime Donald Trump appoints anybody to do anything, that man probably played football somewhere.
He probably went and found that man on a corner and said, "Hey, I want you." Like that's just how impulsive this dude is.
Right.
He'll give anybody the job.
Right.
So, move forward to 2020. Ghani is declared president, and Abdullah as the head of government peace negotiating committee. So violence increased in Kabul. If you all remember, journalists and rights activists are assassinated. Like
people remember the whole thing with Jamal Khashoggi?
Yes.
That's what that is, if anybody is wondering. That was all over the news, so I'm quite sure all you guys heard about Jamal.
Mm-hmm. A maternity hospital and a girls' school were also targeted.
Right.
Come on, man.
Yeah, bringing that extreme Islam back that they said they weren't going to do.
So February 2020, the U.S. and the Taliban signed a peace agreement in Qatar. All right. The two sides agree on terms including U.S. withdrawal of troops and the Taliban to stop attacks on Americans. April 14th of 2021, President Joe Biden announces the withdrawal of the remaining troops by September 11th, 2021.
He made good on his promise.
He did. Hey, listen, he went in there and got them.
Yeah. He said, I got to come on home now.
All right, so May 2021, the Taliban began gaining control of the northern region of Afghanistan. In July, our troops was to leave the airfield, Bagram Airfield, which is the key hub for American war. All right, so August 2021, the Taliban seized control of key cities. And that's the thing right there.
Right, already.
Like, if they can take control of these key cities, there's not really much that we can do because we can't fight for them forever. That's how I see it. You know what I'm saying? All right, so President Ghani flees and the government collapses and the capital comes under Taliban control. All right, if you've been keeping up with the latest news and all the attacks and like the attack at the airport, you saw how desperate some of those Afghanis were trying to get out of the country. They had their kids and they really trying to get out of there because they already know what's going to happen, what's about to take place.
Right. If you haven't seen it, just check out the footage. We're dropping some pictures so you guys can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, so August 26th, a suicide bombing takes place outside Kabul's international airport. As tens of thousands of Afghans were trying to evacuate, ISIS killed 200 Afghans and 13 U.S. service members. But shout out to the families that lost somebody, and definitely that's not the outcome that we wanted, but that's kind of what happens when you withdraw suddenly. But it had to be done, in my opinion. All right, so August 29th, the U.S. sends a second drone to attack ISIS in retaliation for the attack on the airport. And on August 30th, U.S. announces that the last plane has departed. So the war is over. All the troops are no longer in Afghanistan, and we are no longer on the ground over there.
Right. So at the end of the day, the question is, did we win the war? And popular opinion says, Hell no, we didn't win the war.
Absolutely not.
And for what? I mean, you got 2,448 American service members killed. You got 3,800 U.S. contractors killed. You have 66,000 Afghan military and police killed. 1,400 basically service members, including those from other NATO member states. A lot of people.
A lot of people
is the point.
Yeah.
The cost of the war, y'all, this war has cost the U.S. borrowed money. So we've had to borrow money to fund this war. Most of the money to fund this war was borrowed. It's future generations will have to continue paying for this war, y'all. As of 2020, the direct cost of the Afghan and Iraq wars. This is not debt financed over the war. This is debt. Y'all, this is $2 million, and the estimated cost is gonna be, by 2050, $6.5 trillion.
Jeez.
And before I said $2 million, it was trillion. It's $2 trillion so far, and the estimated cost by 2050 is going to be $6.5 trillion. So, who is paying for this shit?
Be paying it forever.
And this is just the war. I mean, when you add in, this is just for the war. Now, we're not talking about paying for health care, disability, burial costs, and all other costs associated with the war. For nearly 4 million Afghan and Iraq veterans. Add an additional $2 trillion just to cover, everything that comes as a result of the war.
So way too expensive, way too many lives lost. And we spent way too much time over there for them still not to have their security forces together.
Right.
So I think at this point, y'all gonna have to figure it out, bro.
Yeah, and I mean, you hate to see anybody lose their lives in the war, but I mean, you talking about 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids, babies going over there, losing their life. And like I say, for what? For what? We don't have shit to show for it right now.
Yeah. I feel like we should have been out of Afghanistan a long time ago.
I do too.
You know what I'm saying?
Saved a lot of lives and a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So what do y'all think? Do y'all think we should have stayed in Afghanistan? If so, why do you think we should have stayed in Afghanistan?
Right.
Do you think we pulled out at the right time? Do you think we could have done anything different? What are y'all thoughts?
Let us know. We are interested to hear them.
So we're going to go ahead and close it out. We appreciate y'all tuning in.